The writer. In her room at the prow of the house, where light breaks and the windows are tossed with linden, my daughter is writing a story. I pause in the stairwell, hearing from her shut door a commotion of typewriter keys like a chain hauled over a gunwale. Young as she is, the stuff of her life is a great cargo, and some of it heavy. I wish her a lucky passage. But now it is she who pauses, as if to reject my thought and its easy figure. A stillness greatens, in which the whole house seems to be thinking. And then she is at it again with a bunched clamor of strokes, and again is silent. I remember the dazed starling which was trapped in that very room 2 years ago. How we stole in, lifted a sash and retreated, not to affright it. And how for a helpless hour through the crack of the door we watched the sleek, wild, dark and iridescent creature batter against the brilliance, drop like a glove to the hard floor or the desktop, and wait then, humped and bloody, for the wits to try it again. And how our spirits rose when, suddenly sure, it lifted off from a chair back, beating a smooth course for the right window and clearing the sill of the world. It is always a matter, my darling, of life or death, as I had forgotten. I wish what I wished you before, but harder.
The Writer was written in 1969 by a poet named Richard Wilbur. This poem is about a father who watches his daughter write and contemplates the freedom and independence she will soon have. In the beginning of the poem, he describes a room in which his daughter is writing a story. He thinks of all the struggles she has had to go through and says, "I wish her a lucky passage." This shows how he hopes she will have to go through very little hardship and have an easy time with it. The daughter has writer's block, and her father watches the process occur. He begins explaining how he knows there will be future struggles she'll face as she tries to gain independence. His daughter is then compared to a bird who, after being beaten down and after giving up, regains strength to try to escape for freedom again. The author recognizes that this is a serious matter and wishes her well on her future endeavors.
The main theme of this poem is self-worth and identity and the obstacles one may face to find it. The struggles and tough experiences we face help us grow and become stronger. Wilbur develops this theme through his work by comparing the narrator's daughter to a bird struggling to escape entrapment. Just like the bird, the daughter is persistent and hardworking when trying to accomplish a specific goal. The confusion and doubt she faces only motivate her to find herself despite these hardships. The narrator of the poem is supportive of his daughter, understanding her struggles and what it takes to be successful. This is evident in lines 7 to 9 when Wilbur states, "Young as she is, the stuff of her life is a great cargo, and some of it heavy. I wish her a lucky passage." There are a few other quotes that also show this deeper meaning of the theme through figurative language. One example occurs in lines 25 to 27, stating, "An iridescent creature batter against the brilliance, drop like a glove to the hard floor or the desktop." In this passage, symbolism is used, and the bird represents the narrator's daughter's hard work and dedication to reach freedom, or success in her writing. The bird is trapped in this poem and must be persistent and extremely motivated in order to escape. Another quote in lines 5 to 6 state, "I pause in the stairwell, hearing from her shut door a commotion of typewriter keys, like a chain hauled over a gunwale." This occurs at the beginning of the poem, the author setting the scene by explaining the daughter's passion and her father's pride in her work. Lines 5 to 6 compare the sound of her writing to a chain hauled over a gunwale. A gunwale is the upper edge of the side of a boat or ship, and a chain banging against it, according to the author, would be very loud. The author emphasizes the quiet nature of the house when the daughter is writing, so to the readers, the sound of a typewriter clicking is meant to symbolize disturbance to the setting. This could also be interpreted as disturbance to the writer's goals and thoughts, relating back to the main theme of struggling to succeed.
The speaker has a compassionate tone. He doesn't talk much about his feelings for himself, but he feels wishful for his daughter and hopes for the best for her. The attitude changes when the author thinks back on the difficulties his daughter has faced and the new ones she will face in the future, and he resents them.
Just like attitude, there is a shift of tone about midway through. It starts on line 16 when Wilbur says, "I remembered the day's starling, which was trapped in that very room 2 years ago." This line helps transition from a tone of admiration and earnest respect for his daughter's writing talent to a tone of distress when the iridescent creature who was trapped in the house and struggled to escape was able to fly free. The tone shifts again after this, evident in lines 25 through 31, when Wilbur states, "And wait then, humped and bloody, for the wits to try again," and how our spirits rose when, suddenly sure, it lifted off from a chair back. "It is always a matter, my darling, of life or death, as I had forgotten. I wish what I wished you before, but harder." In these lines, the tone changes from distress back to its original form of admiration and compassion. This tone shift helps deliver the poem's message that his daughter's dedication, motivation, and free spirit result in her ability to find herself, flaws and all, because of her writing.
The words of the title, "The Writer," suggest that a writer will be the main subject of the poem. The word has some irony because the author is a writer who is writing about a writer. It connects the author with a familiar role. The deeper meaning behind the title of "The Writer" shows how the author's daughter is in control of her own fate and is writing her own story. He addresses her by a title of high regard and class, showing how he views her and her future. This is also evident in how she is the captain of the metaphorical ship that is referenced throughout the poem. The process of writing is sacred to both the father and daughter, so it is fitting that the title centers around a writer, since they are both writers. The title connects to the main ideas and roles of the characters in the poem.